Now let's take a look at another interesting way that we can use Envizia. In this particular case, I would like to use something for package design where I already have some packaging rendered that I would like to maybe put some scenery around. So for instance, if I come over to Strata Design 3D, I've set up some packaging here of these yogurt products. And I'd also like to have a background that looks interesting, maybe something that's going to be used for some marketing material, but I'd like to have them sit on a piece of wood. So I've just blocked out that piece of wood the way I want it to be. Now, I don't have to worry about the shading. I don't have to worry about the background. What I'm primarily concerned about here is just making sure that I have my products looking the way that I want them to look. So for instance, I can come over here and render this at a high resolution. So I would render the segment of the screen that I want, and I'll specify something pretty high res like a 3K rendering. So when I come over and render that, we can see the products begin to resolve. And so I'm generating, in this particular case, the pixels that I actually want to use within the AI generation within Envizia. So we're going to be using kind of a hybrid approach here. Now back here in Envizia, we're going to actually be creating some new renderings, but we're not going to use the create modes. The create modes are really designed when you want to sort of create something from scratch, meaning every pixel that's going to be generated is going to be new for each generation, even if it's guided by some input imagery. We want to do something a little bit different by coming over to edit, and we're going to do select and modify. Select and modify will allow us to do something cool. It will allow us to bring in part of the image that we want to maintain through the generation, but have it generate everything around it. So in this case, we're going to come over here to add or drop an image, and we're going to upload the rendering that we just produced. So I come over and I select that. You can see I can visualize that by pressing the space bar here on Mac OS. And then we just open that. And it will present us with the dialog box here that will allow us to mask out the parts that we want to change and the parts that we want to keep. So the easiest thing to do at this point is we've got some pretty obvious broad regions is we'll come over to the magic wand tool and it'll go through a process of recognizing components in the image. And then we can just come over and click and it will highlight the areas that it has recognized as separate. Now there's a little bit going on here that it hasn't quite selected, so we're going to come over to the brush tool and I'm just going to quickly paint out that so that we have a very clear area. And it's a little rough, but that's okay. It's not a problem. I'm just going to get around the perimeter so that we don't have any of those white pixels, and we'll just paint out any little bit of stuff like that, and then we're ready. I'm going to zoom in so you can be a little bit more precise like this, and then we can paint in a little area here. But again, don't worry if it's not exactly perfect. I'll show you how that really won't matter in the end. So we've gotten the major portions done. What we have highlighted in orange here is the part of the image that it's going to generate, and the part that isn't masked is the part that will remain the same, and that's exactly what we want. And then we click Done, and it'll transfer this data back over here to the select and modify area. And there we go. So now all we have to do is put in the prompt, and I'm just going to paste in one that I have found, and I just typed in product visualization, elegant polished oak wood shelf, and then I described the background, sprawling fields of vibrant green crops, etc. So I just come up with the prompt, and you'll have to play around with the prompts until you kind of find one that gives an image that you like. And then creativity, I'm just going to kind of leave here at 60%, and you click create, and it will go through the process of generating. And there we go. It's generated something with that nice background, and the foreground products are the same. But let me show you, we can also come over here to maintain shape. In my original rendering, I had put the direction of kind of how I wanted that wood component to be. And if you turn on maintain shapes, it will actually look at features within the image that you have supplied it. Even if it's not going to use them directly, it's going to look at those shapes to help form the generation. So let's try this again. Let's click generate again, and we'll see what it does with the maintain shapes function. And there we go. So I like the background, and I've got the foreground here with the wood. If I wanted to, I could spend time maybe having it remove these seams between the wood panels, but I'm going to call this good for right now. So let's say that we wanted to come in now and generate a 4K high resolution image that would be our final image. This is where I would come over where it says 4K upscale. Let's go ahead and drop in the creation that we just had there. So in this particular case, I'm going to come over here and turn down texture strength. I don't want it to add too much more texture, but we have 4K selected here. And then we just come over and generate, and it will go through the process to begin generating a high resolution 4K. Now I want to show you something kind of cool. To demonstrate that our products are still basically the same, we can come over and just look at the original image that we had generated, and you can see that there's an overlay. We can see the compare function right here. And so just sliding this back and forth shows me that we were able to generate that background and everything around what we call the hero image, which is really cool. Now I've opened this in an image editor. Let's take a look at this a little bit more closely. This is a 4K image. You'll notice that even though we isolated and masked out the yogurt containers, it still did sort of the AI thing of munging up some of the small details, but that's totally okay. One of the benefits of this approach that we used is that it maintained the frame and the composition of the yogurt. So I rendered out from Design 3D the yogurt objects by themselves that I can just overlay onto this. Now that I've gotten this opened in my image editor, this is a 4K image generation, and I can place in the rendered yogurt objects that are isolated, and I just come over and I just drop them into place, and they just drop in exactly, and I can turn those on and off, and we get back our original pristine type and everything, and it just seamlessly matches in, which is really awesome. And now we can go in, and if we needed to add any logos or advertising type for this, we could do that here in our image editor.